Good? All right. All right, we'll now call the Madison County Board of Adjustments Thursday, August 18th, 2022 meeting to order. Can you call the roll, please?
Keith Park.
Here.
Madison.
Here.
Valerie Hines.
Here.
Ralph Hall.
Here. All right, first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Has everybody looked over the minutes from last month's meeting? And if everything looks good, I need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Valerie Hines.
Yes.
Mike Madden.
Yes.
Keith Park.
Yes.
Ralph Hall.
Yes. All right. Next thing on the agenda is a dimensional variance at 2725 Doyle'sville Road. We have Mr. Brandon Fritz. Mr. Fritz, would you come forward, please? Please tell us your name and address.
Brandon Fritz, 2725 Doyle'sville Road.
All right. You agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
I do.
All right, Mr. Fritz, tell us what you'd like to do with your dimensional variance.
So when we laid the property out, the way the land lays, because we all know Doyle'sville is not too flat. So when we graded it out, it was probably it's a few feet off from the 125 foot in the middle of the road. So one end of the house fits it, the other end didn't, because we tried to square it to the center of the road so the house runs with the fence in the road.
That's pretty close to where the house is right there.
Yes, sir.
So because of the lay of the land, you've got it sort of,
Yeah.
Like falls off pretty steep.
It falls off
behind
pretty
there.
good to the pond, yep.
yeah.
Might put a slide there to the pond.
All right, so you're asking for a 25-foot variance?
Yes, sir.
And that means you're gonna be 100 feet. Is that enough?
Yeah, I think that's plenty. Once I put porch and everything in there, I
That
think
includes your porches, your overhangs, gutters.
yes,
soffits.
that includes everything, yep.
I know Marty went out there and measured it, but I can't remember what he said the number was.
I think it was 118 on one corner and then 127 on the other corner.
Bert, you had any phone calls or anything?
No.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Fritz?
Mr. Fritz, has anybody contacted you to ask you any questions
No,
about
ma'am.
it? I think I saw you directing some traffic this morning.
I tried.
Is anybody else here to speak on dimensional variance? If not, I'll open the floor up for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve a 25-foot variance on the front setback, reducing the setback from 125 feet to 100 feet at 2725 Doyle'sville Road.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mike Madden.
Yes.
Keith Park.
Yes.
Valerie Hines.
Yes.
Ralph Hall.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Fritz. Mr. Thomas will get with you and get that taken care of, okay?
Give us a call in the office. We'll make sure it's easy enough. Okay.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have a conditional use permit, solar farm parcel IDs for AES Solar Farm LLC. We have a representative here. Come on up, please, sir. Pine Grove Solar LLC. There we go. Tell us your name, who you're representing.
David Stimson, and I'm representing Pine Grove Solar LLC today.
All right. You agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Simpson?
Stimson.
Stimson, tell us what you're gonna want to do here today.
Just for the record, real quick, Mr. Chairman, y'all have two applications in your
Yes.
packet. The first one was the one that was submitted with the 320 Pine Grove Road.
Uh-huh.
We amended that to include all the parcel IDs for all that 320 just was one of the parcels, so we amended the application
Gotcha.
to show all, that's why you've got two of them in your packet.
Okay.
And there were signs and the advertisement was correct, it's just we already got the packets made up
Gotcha.
before we.
In here it says three
Before we-
twenty, this
we
one
deliver
is
it.
that. That's the difference. Y'all see that? One in the book.
Kit.
Yeah, the one in the book right
Yeah.
there says that, and this one actually has that on it. Okay, Mr. Stimson, floor is yours.
I have a presentation. Members
Okay.
of the board, if we can pull that
You
up.
ready?
Yep.
And Morris, you want to go ahead and pull that up?
I also have physical copies of the presentation if anyone wants one.
That'd be great.
Is that
Okay.
what's in the binder?
Or is that what's in here?
No, there's just of the presentation itself. How many do we need?
That's it, I see here.
Okay.
Three
I want
twenty.
a copy for the meeting, if I need to give anyone, and
All right.
Each one of them can
one for record.
take one. If you'll just hit that arrow button on forward slides, please.
Gotcha. All right, so good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board and staff. My name is David Stimson, and I'm here today to tell you a little bit about a project we're calling Pine Grove Solar that's proposed for Madison County, Kentucky. I want to first say thank you for the opportunity to present this afternoon. The first thing I'll point your attention to are the two photos on our intro slide here. These photos are of sites that we have up and operating and producing energy across the country. All of the photos that you see of panels in this presentation will be of our sites that are up and operating and producing energy somewhere in the country. Like I said, my name is David Stimson, and I'm the development manager for this project. With me here today, I have Madeline Ray, who's our permitting analyst. John Stewart was not able to make it here today, but he is our land acquisition manager. Helen Humphreys is actually running late, but she's on her way. She's our stakeholder relations manager. Also with me here today, I have Grant Matthews, who's supporting our permitting team, Glenn Hardy, who's our director of construction operations, Michael Jenkinson, who's our civil engineer, as well as two third-party subject matter experts, Dr. Paul Coombs, who's an emeritus professor of economics at the University of Louisville. He completed our economic impact analysis for us, as well as Rich Kirkland of Kirkland Appraisals, who completed our property value impact analysis for us. So we have a deep bench here today to answer all of your questions. Today's ask is for a conditional use permit from Madison County for Pine Grove Solar. The project is located on 6 parcels, all of which are zoned agricultural. The fiscal court passed ordinance 20-17 in June of 2020 to allow for commercial solar energy facilities to be built on certain commercially and agriculturally zoned land. So our ask today is we're asking for Board of Adjustments approval on a conditional use permit application for Pine Grove Solar. So before I get into the project, I wanted to share a little bit about who we are. AES is founded in 1981, making us the oldest independent power producer in the US. Independent power producer is similar to a utility in that we develop, own, and operate our own energy producing assets. We're different from a utility in that we don't undergo as much regulation. We don't have the right of eminent domain, so anything that we build, the community has to want. And we don't serve the end rate paying customer with our electricity, so we wouldn't serve me, you, or Joe Smith down the street with our electricity. We are headquartered globally in Arlington, Virginia, which is not too far away from the Richmond, Virginia office where I work. We have been building renewable energy projects for over 20 years now. We were one of the first in the industry to start doing so, and we have a track record of success in bringing these projects online. We're also an extremely financially stable partner to work with. We own over $33 billion in global assets, and we take in just over $11 billion every year in yearly revenue.
What's the connection with the Pine Grove Solar and the AES? Or is it a subsidiary or?
Yeah, that's a wholly owned subsidiary of AES.
Mr. Stimson, when we get going here, do you care to bring the rest of your guys up? That way, when they start asking questions, whoever needs to answer
Yeah,
can.
he was gonna do his
Yeah,
presentation.
I was gonna do a presentation, then once questions come up,
Perfect.
I'll bring them up
Thank you.
as needed. So a little bit more about our projects and our people. So we have over 700 employees here in the US. That number is actually a little bit outdated. I think we're closer to 800 now in the US. We have over 400 projects that are up and operating through the construction period and producing energy reliably across the country. Those 400 projects cover 21 states and amount to just over 4.5 gigawatts of operating clean energy assets. So that's solar, solar plus storage, wind, and wind plus storage. We also have one of the most robust pipelines in the industry at over 40 gigawatts. So that's 40 gigawatts of projects that are in some form of active development. I could go on and on about this slide, but I'll actually just point your attention to the bottom right-hand corner to the Bloomberg New Energy Finance quote. In 2021, AES sold more clean energy to corporations than any other developer globally at just under 3 gigawatts. 2/3 of this took place in the US. So we really are a global company with a focus here in the US. Here's the map I promised of all of the states where we operate projects. All of the states in green are where we have projects that are up operating and producing energy. As you can see, we work in a diverse range of communities across the country. The states in blue are where we have projects in some form of development or construction. So they haven't quite reached operation yet, but they're in some form of active development. You'll notice that the only states where we currently don't do business are Alaska, Alabama, and New Hampshire. And we're hoping to bring an operating project here to Kentucky soon. So it's one thing to look at these projects on a map, it's a totally different thing to look at them on a boots on the ground view or from a bird's eye view. So I'll point your attention to the upper left hand corner. That's our Skipjack Solar project in Virginia. We've planted native grasses underneath the panels on that project, and they've come in quite nicely over the last couple of months. In the upper right hand corner is our E-Town Solar project in Pennsylvania. Here I want to point out how we work with the land, avoiding treat areas, avoiding wetland draws, and really just working with what we have. In the bottom left-hand corner is one of our projects in Antelope Valley, California. This is a bird's eye view that shows the spacing in between the panels, as well as the access corridors that we use for our maintenance crews. And finally, in the bottom right-hand corner is our Keystone Solar project in New York. Here I want to show the compatibility of solar with other land uses like agriculture. You can see the farm buildings in the background there. You can also see a newly planted vegetative buffer in the foreground. Now in this specific locality, the requirement was for a mixture of shrubs, bushes, and evergreen trees. In this particular instance, I chose this photo because you can actually see the panels behind the vegetative buffer. If it had been all evergreen trees like the one in the middle, like we're proposing for this project, you wouldn't be able to see any panels.
Which one of these are your newest projects?
Newest projects are Skipjack Solar and Keystone Solar are our two newest of the four. So why here? Why Madison County? The first and arguably most important reason is proximity to existing electrical infrastructure. So the photo on the right is a photo of our site, and you can see the existing Kentucky Utilities transmission line running right through our project area. Because this runs right through our project area, we're able to access the grid right there on site, and we don't need to build any transmission towers of our own, so you won't see any transmission towers dotting the landscape or anything like that associated with this project. There's also an abundance of suitable land for solar in Madison County. I like to say that land that's typically good for agriculture is typically good for solar, so you want it to be relatively dry, flat, and have large parcel sizes, and Madison County has those in spades. We've also noticed a local commitment to economic development, and not just any economic development, but economic development that's responsible, that's high value and low impact like solar development is. With that commitment to economic development comes a strong local labor force, and particularly skilled blue-collar workers who are best positioned to help us build and operate these types of projects. We've also noticed a strong local solar resource, meaning that Madison County gets plenty of sunshine every year to make a project like this viable. Lastly, we've noticed an increasing demand in the market for clean energy from businesses and corporations to utilities like Kentucky Utilities and electrical co-ops as well. So they're all looking to procure renewable energy. Finally, on to the project itself. So this is an overview of the project we're calling Pine Grove Solar. So the nameplate capacity or size of the project is up to 50 megawatts. I know that's kind of a hard number to wrap your head around, so that's enough clean energy to power about 15,000 homes every year with completely clean energy. Those who came to our open house will notice that this number's gone up slightly since we last shared information, and that's just because we've been able to find some reduced setbacks and optimize our project design. But in no case will it ever be above 50 megawatts because that's what our interconnection filing is for, so it won't be above 50 ever. The location is obviously Madison County, Kentucky, otherwise I wouldn't be here today, but nearest to the town of Bybee, so we're in the eastern part of the county, and I have a map next that shows exactly where that is. Our point of interconnection is that Kentucky Utilities 161 kV line I pointed out in the last slide that runs right through our site. The project footprint in total is 484 acres. We only plan on utilizing about 220 of those acres for equipment. So that's about 45% of the total project area. The rest of that 55% will go to things like setbacks, wetlands, areas of high topography where we can't build, and other environmentally sensitive areas. The expected commercial operation date is March of 2025, and the expected life of the project is 35 years. So here's the map I promised of where the project would be located in the county. You can see the city of Richmond on the left-hand side there. You can see the Bluegrass Army Depot situated sort of between where our project would be and the city of Richmond, and then our project on the far eastern edge of the county. If you have a good eye, you can see Drowning Creek running north to south just to the right of our project area. We are situated well outside of the I-75 corridor and well outside of the T-shaped zone that the county has earmarked for other forms of development. This is a closer up view of what we intend to build. The first thing I'll point out is that the project is naturally secluded. It's surrounded on most sides by dense treed areas. The green lines you see on the edges of the project are where we plan on planting vegetative buffer, an evergreen tree buffer, to further assist with viewshed. You can see Pine Grove Road is the only road that runs through our project area. It is a public road up until that gray circular turnaround you see in the middle of the screen, and then beyond that, heading about northeast, it's a private drive. I'll also point out that the areas in black are where we plan on placing panels. And the last thing I'll point out on this slide is the Kentucky Utilities transmission corridor that runs right through our project area, running northwest to southeast. That's where we plan on interconnecting to the grid. So digging in just a little bit more into the map I just showed you, the project is located off a partially private road, which is Pine Grove Road. Pine Grove Road is a dead-end road. It's not a throughway. It ends at one family's property at the end of the dead-end road. We do have a good neighbor agreement in place with the family at the end of the road. I can't go into the specifics of what the good neighbor agreement says, but suffice to say it contains mutual terms that are agreed upon by both parties to make them comfortable with and okay with the development, construction, and operation of the project. Our requested setbacks are slightly different than Axiona's previously approved setbacks, so I'll earmark that for you now. But we are requesting 100 feet from the center line of roads, in this case only Pine Grove Road. It's the only road close enough to the project to warrant a setback. 100 feet from non-participating adjacent properties, so those are properties that don't contain a home or a residence, and 200 feet from any adjacent property that does contain a home or a residence. And that condition is the same as the Axiona projects. For requested vegetation and landscaping, we're requesting no gravel or bare areas underneath the panels, that they must be native grasses planted, like the photo on the right there. We're also requesting that we must have landscape screening around the entire project perimeter where it might be visible from roads or homes, and I have that underlined because there are so few roads and so few homes near our project area. So to give you an idea of what the project and what the vegetative buffer might look like from a boots on the ground view from Pine Grove Road, we had a third-party engineering firm turn around some viewshed simulations for us. So on the far left-hand side, you can see in the foreground the newly planted evergreen tree buffer, and behind it you can see some panels in the field. In the center photo, you can see that same vegetative buffer at 10 feet in height, providing virtually 100% coverage of the panels behind it. And on the far right side, you can see that same vegetative buffer at full maturity. There's 100% coverage of the panels behind it. There's no panels to be seen behind the vegetative buffer. So what else to expect when the project is up and operational? The solar panels will be about 15 feet in height, which is low profile compared to other forms of development. This is another ask that we're making that's different from the Axiona project. They were limited to 10 feet in height for their panels. We're asking to raise that to 15 feet in height to accommodate our panels, as long as they're properly screened. Emphasis on the last part.
Is that at max tilt?
Max tilt, correct. The glare from the project will be eliminated by anti-reflective coating on the panels. Remember that these panels are designed to absorb and capture light and not reflect it. We can expect vegetation both underneath the panels as well as surrounding the project fence. This is the final ask that we're making that's different from the Axiona project. we're asking to be able to plant our vegetative buffer on the outside of the fence as opposed to between the project and the fence. We think this will eliminate some shading concerns that we have, as well as should hide the project better from view. You can expect limited visibility of the site based on its location, so there's no view of the project from New Irvine Road, from Bybee Loop Road, from Dodd Road, or from Brassfield Road. The project will not affect local power prices because we don't serve the end rate paying customer like I mentioned on previous slides. The low hum from the inverters, which are just about the only noise-making apparatus on an operating project, will be inaudible off-site. The vast majority of noise on-site will be during the pile driving phase of the construction period, lasting only a few months. The useful life of the project is 35 years, like I said before, after which AES will be responsible for removing all of our equipment, both above ground and underground, and will likely post a decommissioning bond with the county. So in the very unlikely event that we aren't able to perform decommissioning ourselves, the county has the funds to step in and contract out the work to do it themselves.
Is there a continuation plan after 35 years?
What we normally do is, if we're able to get the landowners on board and the county on board, is to continue having it be an operating project. But if it's the wish of the county and of the landowners to cease at that time, then we would remove the equipment and move forward with decommissioning.
You replace the equipment at that time?
Yes, we'd likely replace the panels and much of the equipment at that time.
So the lifespan of the panels and some of your equipment is around that 35-year?
Not quite. So to give you an example, the panels that were on the White House for over 20 years were still operating at over 80% capacity when they were removed. So solar panels actually do last quite a long time. The idea would be to replace them just to maximize the efficiency, so going from that 80% back to 100% efficiency of the panels. We're also expecting panel technology to improve over the next 35 years, so it would behoove us financially to replace them with the latest and greatest panels. So a word or two on conservation. So we know that stormwater management and flooding are a big deal here in Kentucky. So establishing vegetation on site is vitally important to stormwater management. The native grasses that we plant will slow down any runoff from the site and capture any sediment that may become suspended in that runoff. This project also harvests minimal trees and keeps the vast majority of existing trees.
Yeah, hold on, so he's trying to get it fixed, he's doing something. That's our IT guy, it's that microphone, his microphone's,
All good?
try it now.
All good?
Try it now.
Test?
Yeah, now it's going, did y'all hear that high pitch?
Sorry about that. This project also harvests minimal trees, so it keeps the.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, there's a very high pitch ring going when he talks.
Not for
It
me.
gets in your head.
Are we,
Y'all can't hear that?
I heard it once.
we all good?
Yeah.
Too many years of power, too.
Sorry
And
about
I
that, go
have,
ahead.
and I have tinnitus, so I'm a lost cause.
Go ahead.
The vast majority of trees on site we plan to keep in place, so that will help with stormwater management as well. We've conducted cultural, threatened, and endangered species and wetland studies have all been completed and identified no red flags for the project area. The tree buffer that we plant should provide habitat for birds and other species. And we expect minimal grading and wetland impacts on this project because it's already relatively dry and flat. And just a word or two on the stewardship of the land. We do consider ourselves stewards of the land that we buy and lease. We commit to returning the land to the condition it was the day that we walked onto it when we're done with it.
With this current project, is this a lease with the buy option?
This is a purchase option.
This is a purchase option?
That's correct, yep.
Okay.
So this is our expected project timeline. We officially submitted for our Madison County conditional use permit in June of this year. We do plan on starting our state level Kentucky Siting Board process next month in September. If both of those go according to plan, we plan to break ground in quarter 4 of 2023, quarter 4 of next year. And then we expect construction to last about a year into quarter 1 of 2025. So at its core, Pine Grove Solar is a high value, low impact economic development opportunity for Madison County. It would represent a $70 million investment in the county. Then those are completely private dollars. the county could expect just under $6 million in property tax over the life of the project. That's an 81-fold increase compared to its current use. So that's $171,000 a year under solar and $2,100 a year under its current use. The project also doesn't require any additional county or city services or resources. Now I'm starting to hear it a little bit. It doesn't require any additional county services or resources. So there's no pressure on the local city city services or resources. I like to say that solar panels don't need more classrooms, they don't need more fire trucks, they don't need more squad cars. So you get a nice tax bump without placing a burden on city services or resources. We will expect 108 jobs plus during construction, so this really is an all hands on deck mentality when it comes to building these things. Those 108 jobs are associated with $8.6 million in associated yearly construction wages. That breaks down to about $79,000 per worker per year, which is well above the industry average. Once the project is constructed and operational, we do expect 2 full-time jobs. That would likely be a landscaper and a solar technician to take care of maintenance and repairs. Beyond just these direct economic impacts, we expect ripple effects as well. So supporting local businesses like food trucks and restaurants, so those 108 workers are gonna be hungry, they're gonna have to eat. Construction equipment rentals, building materials, and lodging, of course.
I have a question, will any Madison Countyans have a chance at any of these jobs?
Yes, yeah, and we have our construction manager here to tell you more about that at the end of the presentation. So these projects are monitored remotely 24/7, 365 from a control center. I like to think of it sort of as mission control because it looks a little bit like it. It's a glassed off room with a bunch of monitors and a bunch of different graphs going. So if so much as one of our arrays goes down on one of our sites, that team is able to dispatch crews in real time to go take care of the issue. Once we have the project operational, minimal annual maintenance will be required. You'll hardly know that the project is there once it's operational. We'll be on site from time to time to do mowings, to look after the landscape buffer, and to do any maintenance or repairs, but other than that, you'll hardly know that we're there. We do typically contract with the local landscaping company to provide services for mowing and for our landscape buffers. And then this project is an energy producing asset, so it is required by the federal government to be kept under lock and key. So the project will be fenced off with strict electronically controlled security access gates. The only people with the codes to those gates will be us and local fire and rescue, and we'll train with local fire and rescue on how best to access our site in the case of an emergency. So this is my last slide, so thanks for bearing with me thus far. Last minute or two here on community engagement and outreach. So because we almost always own and operate the projects that we build, we're committed to improving the communities where we live and work. Our focus pillars for partnerships and for donations include partnering for safe, efficient, and affordable energy. We do view this as a basic human right. Partnering for inclusive economic growth and education, so that means working with local chambers of commerce, working with local classrooms to give them tours of our facility, making sure that renewable energy and environmental science curriculum make it into classrooms. Partnering for the environment, this is personally why I do what I do. As an avid hiker, camper, and fisherman, I want to make sure that our kids' generation and our kids' kids' generation have clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and high-quality nature areas to explore and play in. Lastly, we partner for community health and well-being. We've done a lot of work in this pillar over the last 2 years or so since the COVID pandemic started. Providing meals to first responders, providing meals to those on the front lines of the pandemic. This will probably continue to be a focus pillar for us moving forward, but hopefully we'll have to do a little bit less work in it. The last thing I'll say is we are not in the habit of telling you how to spend our money. You know your community better than we ever could. So if you have any pet projects, if you have any ideas for partnerships, if you have any ideas in general, feel free to reach out to us at this email found on this slide or at the contact information found on the final slide. So with that, I want to say thank you one more time for the opportunity to present, and I'll open it up for questions and comments.
Sure. You wanna bring your crew up now and we'll start asking some questions?
Sure, if you guys want to come on up.
That way, board members might have a question for different people, that way if we got them all.
Sure.
Just tell us your name and what part of the project you're representing.
I'm Madeline. I'm the permitting support on this project, so I deal with state and federal and local permits.
Okay,
Richard Kirkland Appraisals. I did the property impact analysis.
okay.
Glenn Hardy, I'm Director of National Construction and Pre-Construction for all of ASP Energy.
Okay.
Paul Coombs, I did the economic work for the project. Michael Jenkins, civil engineer, civil subject matter expert.
Helen Humphreys at Panhandle Outreach.
Okay. All right. So, I guess my first question is, where are these panels made?
Varies. It varies. Right now, as we all know, there's a huge shortage of panels worldwide at this moment. We are especially in a bad situation with that, so right now we're not sure. You have three major manufacturers. They're all based out of Europe or Canada, Asia, Europe and Canada. It depends on who's got them when it's time to buy them as to where they'll come from.
Okay.
We couldn't answer that question today. We probably can in about 12 months.
But they probably won't be made in the United States.
No, sir. We do not have the capacity of manufacturing in the country to do it.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
AES is.
Tell them, anybody that speaks,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
anybody that speaks needs to.
Into the microphone.
We can't get it on the minutes, I'm sorry. Trying to get everything on the record.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks for letting me know.
There you go.
Thank you. So what Glenn said is 100% accurate. And there's just not currently the manufacturing capacity in the United States. However, what AES has done is led a consortium of industry developers who develop and then construct and operate these projects. And they've put together a package and are guaranteeing, can't remember the number, I can get it for you. It's several $100 million worth of contracts in order to really create a solar panel manufacturing industry within the United States. So while what Glenn said is 100% accurate right now, we're really pushing hard, and again, it's AES that really led the creation of that consortium. And I'll provide to you the press release, or I'll provide it to Bert to provide to you,
Okay.
announcing that.
Was Keystone or Skipjack, which one was just currently finished?
Skipjack.
Gotcha. Do you have a point of contact out there for us?
That would be me. I built it personally.
Okay. Where did you get those panels from?
Those panels came from a manufacturer that were safe harbored for us. Those panels came from a manufacturer, which is Jinko. If I'm not mistaken, they are Asian, created and Asian made panels.
Okay. All right, and as you all know, like you said, you're going to the Kentucky State Commission next month. I've got some things I know that they're gonna ask and questions about that, like, on here it shows there's a substation, and will there be any other garages or buildings being built? And if so, what kind of lighting are we expecting around this facility? Do you have a
Very
lighting
little.
plan?
Very little. You will have a lighting plan. There's 4 in the substation. Substation is going to roughly be about 3/4 of an acre once it's fenced in. That's about its final dimension. You'll have 4 lights, 1 on each corner. They will be low-level lights. They will be on all the time in the dark because it is a substation. The PV array areas have no lights. There will be no lights at entrances, exits. It's just, when it's dark, it's completely dark.
That's standard for a substation, right?
Standard.
Any
Yes, sir.
substation.
Any substation you pass, yes, sir.
But you will have a lighting plan.
Yes, sir. There will be a lighting plan.
All right. That's where I'm going with these. There's different ones I'm gonna ask about.
We'll be able to show lumens. We'll be able to show illumination distances from the
Okay,
Will
perfect.
this be your first project in Kentucky?
Our first.
Will this be your first one in Kentucky?
If all goes according to plan, this will be the first one we've constructed in Kentucky. We have others in development throughout Kentucky. But
We
this-
stay on schedule, yes, sir. This is the first one in Kentucky.
Do you have a installation and design plan?
Do, yes, sir.
Okay. I guess there's some things we'd like to see, I guess, in those. So when you have those, would you be able to provide those for us?
General layouts, we still sitting on those at this point? Have they been brought to that percentage yet?
Do not think so.
No, not yet.
Okay,
I
not yet.
remember,
Yeah.
they'll have to go through the site plan with. planning
Exactly,
commission, too.
exactly,
Right.
yes.
We're a little ways away from having those, but we'll
Okay.
provide them.
Gotcha.
So I deferred to the engineer that should be
That's
telling me
fine.
that.
That's fine. Like I said, there's just a list of, there's a list of plans I know that you gotta have, and I just wanna see if you had any of those. A maintenance plan, he briefly talked about, you know, taking care of the land and things like that, but I read in here where it says that you're gonna have a sheep ranch, so I was just curious, you didn't mention that in there.
I'm out on that one. Don't give a shit, I'm out on
We,
that one.
we don't currently have any plans for a sheep ranch.
Okay.
It's something that we're willing to explore, obviously,
Okay.
as we get closer to construction. We do have sheep grazing on sites throughout
Okay.
the country. One of our projects in Virginia, our Spotsylvania Solar Project, has no mowing whatsoever. It just has sheep grazing. So it's something that we do, and that we're willing to explore on this project as well.
Okay.
It's something that we would find a grazer later on in the development cycle than we're in now. Did you wanna say something?
Yeah, yeah. If I could just add that, I met with Kentucky University farm manager, Eastern Kentucky
Eastern Kentucky,
University, forgive me, farm manager last week. We had a conversation extremely early in the conversation. He's connected us with other people in the university, and that conversation is beginning. I don't want to overstate it,
Gotcha.
but we
There's a
are,
plan there.
yeah.
Okay.
And it makes sense too, right? It just makes financial sense to,
Mhm.
if you can get free sheep herding instead of paying somebody to mow.
Gotcha. On the map, it showed that you're gonna have 4 access points. It looks like 2 of them are gonna be on Pine Grove Road, like right after the cul-de-sac. Then it shows 2 others that are on down. Is that the only 4 access points that you're looking at?
At the current moment, yes.
Okay. Now, since those are not on a county road, those are all on a private road. You had stated that all emergency response will have access to those, right?
That's correct, yeah,
Okay.
they'll have access to the entire site.
And as far as, and when you do start construction, all this, as far as, are y'all gonna take care of all the roads as far as keep on them, as far as any damage, or, and you're even on a private one that's gravel, as far as providing the maintenance and anything that needs work from excessive use that it's not used to having?
Yes, sir, we'll develop a traffic management plan, that's the first thing. I actually spent the morning, not just on the site, but all around the site. Beautiful county, by the way, I got to see a lot of it this morning. We actually drive them and survey them, that's what we have done today. We're looking for routes, we know exactly how many trucks are coming, we know what they weigh, we know what routes they need to take. Our next step in construction logistics, we will get with the Kentucky Department of Transportation to make sure that the route we surveyed looks the same. They'll know what we're doing, they'll know where we're going. They will give us some guidance on which roads to stay on that we don't create that much damage. We do anticipate, and I'm sorry I don't remember the road number, once we come off onto Pine Grove Road, we do anticipate there's gonna be some wear and tear on that stretch of road into the private drive. We will be maintaining that, it's our lifeline. So anything that's done to that is created by us, we will put back as we found it. It's probably gonna be in better condition than we found it.
So yeah, so that'll be part of the road survey you'll do with the Madison County Road Department.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Would the heaviest vehicle be, say, a concrete truck or something like that?
Heaviest vehicle's gonna run about 75,000 pounds. That's my truck that brings the post in, so he's gonna be under the gross max of 80,000.
Okay.
And I know you're dying to ask the number, it's about 350 trucks, by the way,
Yeah.
total coming and going.
Come and go. Gotcha.
That's over the life of the project.
That's over about 6 months.
Yeah. Of operation, of
Just
construction.
building it, yes, sir, just building it. Take
Gotcha.
about 6 months to get all those materials here. They leave and that's it. It's done after that.
All right.
Is that done prior to any construction beginning, or will it have begun by the time they?
The only
As far as
construction.
the panels and stuff?
Yes, sir. What you'll see is you'll see the mobilization of the civil crews come in. You'll probably get about 2 months of them back there by themselves working. Then what you're gonna see is you'll start seeing the post come, that's our steel and our racking come. They'll come in sets. After that, you'll start seeing the modules come last. We'll have sporadic wire deliveries of the cable, things of that nature. About 6 months, it's all there. It's almost just-in-time construction. Not a lot of staging. We don't have a lot of room. We try to build on every acre that's usable. I just don't have the staging rooms. We actually ship it in, install it, ship it in, install it, ship it in, install it.
So you had stated that your panels are gonna be 15 feet at max tilt. What height are you talking about your fences from above level ground?
Typically we do about 6 foot chain link fence with a foot of anti-climbing.
So like 3 strands of barbed wire?
3 strand barbed wire.
Yep, something like that.
Okay, so then you're gonna have 7 foot of panels over that sticking, that could be higher than that fence?
Yes, sir. Technically, yes, sir. At that 52-degree tilt.
Yeah.
You'll only see that 52-degree tilt first thing in the morning
And
when
last-
it turns east, and last thing in the evening when it turns west.
Okay.
And how
But-
tall were the trees in the rendering, the full mature trees, how tall were they in that rendering?
So there was 10 and then 25 feet.
So at 25 feet, you'll be covering,
At 10 feet, even with just the angle from Pine Grove Road, you should have almost full coverage.
so I noticed in your outline here, what's your buffering gonna be? Cause you're choosing to put your trees outside your fence. So what's your buffering gonna be from your fence to your panels? Are you gonna have an access lane around all of that? Or is it just gonna be nature, grass and field?
That actual layout has already been determined. We must be able to access all the way around it. There'll be a point that comes very soon where if this project does move forward, you will see myself and my staff getting with the fire marshal. I need to know what kind of equipment he's got, what he's looking for, and how he's gonna get around. Big difference in a small fire truck and a big fire truck. There's a big difference. He's gotta be able to traverse the site. We're not gonna ask them to put out fires on our site. If something were to go wrong, what we don't want is that fire leaving our fence and getting out away from them. So we will actually coordinate with him or her, whoever that may be here in the county, to find out what type of equipment they would expect to traverse around the site. So we would make sure they could do that.
One caveat, I'll go ahead on that is with the safety plan, that's one thing you'll be working with. on that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. We said there's gonna be a substation and maybe other buildings there on site, or just the substation?
Just a substation. There's a small control house. It averages about 10 foot wide. They're normally about 20 foot long with a substation this size. It's a very small substation for us.
Yeah.
It's a permanent structure. It comes in, it's prefabricated. It's got an air conditioner hanging off the side. It's basically a concrete stucco structure. It comes in as one piece.
Okay. Y'all briefly talked about a decommissioning plan, and a guarantee or bonds with the county and fiscal court on that. Anybody wanna go in more about previously how y'all done that?
Yeah, we can provide a, typical we can provide a standard decommissioning plan if you'd like to take a look at it. I
Okay.
can provide that and also the standard site safety plan. It's just quite lengthy. It's quite,
Absolutely.
so I didn't include it in the full
Understand.
binding, but we can provide it if you want it.
Okay.
Yeah, and typically those bonds are reviewed every 3 to 5 years to make sure they're keeping up with inflation. Gosh knows that we need that now more than ever, but typically those are reviewed periodically to make sure that they're a sufficient amount of money for the county to decommission it.
On the fencing, you talked about that, is you gonna go with a chain link fence? Are you gonna go with nature color, is it gonna be opaque, or is it gonna be able to be see-through, or are you gonna have panels in it? What's your plan on that?
Typically we do a chain link fence.
Mhm.
We can make it, nature color if that pleases the county. If you want it to be green. I think that was the Acciona project's requirement, was for it to be a green chain link fence. But no, I don't think it would be see-through, other than it just being a chain link fence.
Okay. And for those of you in the audience that wondering where I'm coming with these questions, they'll go in front of a Kentucky Site Board Commission next month, and there's certain check marks that they have to have before the site board will even acknowledge them, and these are those plans, and so they'll provide those back to us also, so we can see before the progress of this where it's going.
The chain link fence, if I may, we prefer galvanized fabric because of durability. A lot of this coated fence, I tell you what we're seeing, It's a Teflon coating that they literally spray at the factory onto this fence. It doesn't have the lifespan that you would think it would have. That's another reason for the ask to move the buffer outside of the fence versus in between the fence and inside the panels. Not only are we screening panels, we're screening a galvanized fence, quite a few thousand feet.
It's like a canvas screening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, and pictures provided in the booklet, and the simulated ones that we've seen on the screen, the fence is outside of the trees, you know, where it shows them at different heights. So that would be good to not have to see the fence
Right.
and have your
That's why
buffer
yeah.
outside of that.
I
Now,
don't remember why we did that with XDM.
Because their trees were on the inside, I think that's why.
And what-
I don't know why they wanted them.
I don't either. I think it's because they wanted to maintain them, and it was a lease and not a purchase project. That was the biggest difference, I think.
and what type of evergreen trees are you planning to go with in these, that's in these simulated photos?
I don't know what's exactly simulated in those photos, but we would prefer to plant natives because they withstand competition better with other
That
species.
would be cedar trees.
It'll definitely be, for lack of a better term, there will be a local expert that works with us to tell us what's gonna grow best. What we're gonna look at is interlocking, foliage.
The
We'll
two
look
row,
Yes, sir. We'll start looking at all of that, and whatever they recommend, one that's gonna grow and live, it's gonna give us some lifespan, some longevity. What's gonna get there fast to its maturity height, and what interlocks for that visual screen, the local experts can tell us that.
And is this something, she brought up earlier, is this something you can also work with the University Agricultural Farm and the Horticultural Department?
Absolutely. That's where the answer will come from. They'll tell us what works the best.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody have any questions for them? If not, we'll let them sit down, and I know there's some people here that wanna speak, so we'll let you all sit down. We'll have some people come forward, and then at the end, if there's something you need to answer any of their questions, we'll have y'all come back, okay? All right, so, we've heard it.
Bert, I just have a procedural type question. The applicant is Pine Grove Solar LLC, but a lot of the promises that they're putting forth comes from AES. Is that,
AES is the company.
I
Pine Grove
understand,
Solar is the
I understand, but
project.
if a conditional use permit is granted, won't all of the requirements be on Pine Grove and not, because that's the applicant and not necessarily I'm just asking the
So
question.
the conditions will be on whoever's operating it, right? So if Pine Grove Solar gets the conditional use permit and then AES tries to do something, they would have to do within Pine Grove Solar's restrictions or conditions.
But I guess what I'm getting at too is if the things are not done, you want to go to the deep pockets, for lack of a better
Right.
word.
Yeah, I wanna-
And that would be AES, not necessarily Pine Grove.
Yeah.
I don't know that we can put conditions on someone that's not an applicant or a
I
party to the.
think you can put conditions however you want to put them on there. So if you want to have some kind of assurances that AES is responsible as well, then you can make that a condition of the permit. And then they can provide the bonding and the guarantees that reflect that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that they didn't have to be listed as an applicant or on the application. Okay.
All right, would anyone like to come up and speak, on this? The floor is open for you if you would like to speak, ask questions, we'll try our best to get your answers. We might not have them all today, but we'll try to get what we can. That's what it's, yeah, whoever, come right on up. All we want you to do is tell us who you are and where you live.
David Kenneth Sewell.
Uh-huh.
I live 197 Pine Grove Road.
Okay, sir. Do you agree to give us truthful and accurate information as it takes this case?
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna, while you're talking, I'm not trying to be rude here, but I think you're on this list of property owners in this book I'm trying to get to here.
Yeah, this property actually adjoins yours, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes.
Okay. You're on the left side, going out the road.
Yep.
There's a list of them here, cause I checked them
Or
out.
you pull my map back up.
There's 19, yeah, there it is.
Attachment 4.
There it is, yeah, there it is. All right, you are Mr. Sewell?
Yes,
Okay, I just want to highlight you are present here today, sir,
okay,
for my record. Thank you. Go ahead and talk to us.
okay. My concern, there was a slide that presented on there about the trees.
Mhm.
Right now, me and my wife, we've lived in that property for 48 years. Beautifulest view that you ever seen of the mountains of Appalachia. One of the reasons we moved there, private road, there wasn't, not a private road, but it's public road, dead end, very little traffic. And there's a good place to raise children because of that, low traffic impact. And put these trees up, that picture was taken around my front yard, the big tall trees. Well, if those trees get as tall as what that picture showed, that's the end of any view, other than just sitting there looking at a tree. And my concern, I don't like that. And then the other concern, if you don't have trees, then you've got solar panels to look at. And how many of you would be wanting to sit and look at solar panels in your front yard? I've got to look at them in front of me, and I got to look at them beside me. It's not just one side, it's front and back side. I know it's a big deal, but it ain't benefiting me 1 ounce. It's not gonna make my electric bill any cheaper. It's not gonna help me out 1 iota one way or the other.
And you live at 197
I live
Pine
at
Grove?
197 Pine Grove Road. I border the left side of it, and it's right in front of me.
How close is it to you? You're adjoining, so how far?
I joined the property that it's
200
gonna be on,
200 feet. So you have how many acres there, Mr. Sewell?
3 acres.
3 acres?
Nothing compared to what this all is, but it's my 3 acres.
Gotcha.
And I've
Understand.
lived on it for 48 years.
Is that all you've ever owned there, 3 acres?
Yes.
Have you ever had the opportunity to buy any more of that, or?
No.
Bert?
Yes, I was presented
Can you
mark
by land across the
197?
road, but that has nothing to do with this, what's going on right now that I see.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you was what? You were what?
I was offered the opportunity to purchase land across the road in front of me at one time, yes.
Okay. How much was there? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know how much.
It was 40-something acres, somewhere around $100,000, you know,
Okay.
that average everyday person can't afford
Yes.
land like
So you
that,
got
I can't.
3 acres, okay. All right.
But that's my concern,
Right there.
and, you know, they talked about the road, 350 trucks running, that road's not even wide enough for a regular vehicle to drive up and down, let alone tractor and trailers. And I know it's gonna be destroyed. They didn't live out there 48 years ago, and we had a mud hole, dirt road to walk around, and we finally got a decent road to work on.
Mhm.
And now we're gonna have to drive mud hole. I've got nice vehicles, I don't like them getting muddy.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be muddy because this road's gonna be tore to pieces. It's not designed or made to haul that kind of weight on continuous.
Well, what, in previous things we done, for instance, the compression stations, they put on was it Hackett Pike, Mr.
Yeah.
Thomas? Hackett Pike, what they did is they put a bond on that. I don't know if you've been down Hackett Pike, but it's very similar to Pine Grove Road. It's not a very big road at all. And what they did was, as soon as the project was over, and during the phases of it, it was maintained, and when the project was over, they came back and they blacktopped it, and they actually widened it, because they had to during the project. So I'm very,
And the reason they did that is because we had a bond.
we had a bond. So that's something that we can do as a board, is put a bond on the road, and that requires them to keep it maintained and put it back to its standing. That's the reason I was asking him, the construction manager, about, there's a road survey, and he'll get with the Madison County Road Supervisor, and they'll go out there together, and they'll examine the road and do a survey of the road, and he'll let the Madison County Road Supervisor know what they need to have and how big the road needs to be and what it has to be for the vehicles coming in. And with that bond, if it's issued, part of the condition is they will maintain that, keep it that way, and bring it back to its new state once the project's complete. And like I said, we've done that before with different places throughout the county. So I understand about having a nice vehicle and wanting to keep it.
Yeah.
Definitely,
They're expensive.
they are,
They're hard to
and so wanting to
maintain.
maintain that, I understand that very much.
I have, how tall do you think a tree could be where they're talking about put it and not block your view?
Not very high, I wouldn't think. it's flat land out there.
Yeah, it's
and,
pretty
you know,
flat.
You get very much height, you're gonna block all the view of all the mountains and such.
Well, I'm sure if there was anything, they could use some type of plant that would only grow up as high as what you would allow it, and they would try to meet that criteria.
Well, I don't
Instead
think
of
that
having
can be done
something-
according to the measurements he said. Panels gonna be 15 feet tall, and you get something 15 foot tall to cover them, you're gonna block all the view off.
It'd be 200 feet away from your property though.
Yeah, but still, that, you take 200 feet, flat land, you're still gonna block. That's just concerns.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
about-
Absolutely. We're grateful that you're here today and expressing those concerns, Mr. Sewell. Okay, thank you. Would somebody else like to come up? Yes, ma'am, come right on up. Please tell us your name and your address.
Cheryl Ains, and at 160
Miss
Pine
Ames.
Grove.
AI, there you are.
Yeah,
You agree to give truthful and accurate information in this case?
I do.
Please talk to us today.
Some of my questions have been answered, so I appreciate that. One question that, interestingly enough, Mr. Kirkland, appraisal. I got it. And it does address, because one of my big questions is home value. We built in the last 4 years, have done tons of improvements on our property, chose the location, again, view, serenity, we're in the county. We have a pond, we enjoy it, it's quiet, scenic. As far as home values, property values, Mr. Kirkland did a wonderful appraisal, of course, for the solar company. And he did indicate that there was not impact as long as there was vegetation. However, I haven't had a chance to do a lot of research, but I do have a Kentucky specific appraisal that was done, a letter to Senator Paul Hornback that addresses a few things. And it does indicate that in property values declined an average of 17%. Okay.
What counties were these in?
She's in Paris. I've got the report right
So
here.
Bourbon County.
I can give you a copy, yeah. Not all of the properties were in Bourbon County. They were all over. Clay County was where this was prepared for. It was prepared for the Clay Coalition, a Clay County hearing for the same thing. And I have one copy, but I'll
That's
give it
fine.
to you.
You can submit it to Mr. Thomas for record.
Okay. And it's interesting because you mentioned neighbor agreements. Any property within 300 feet was deemed to warrant a neighbor agreement, which in itself indicates that the company believed there was an impact to the property. Is there a plan or any recourse for homeowners as far as any property decreased value? And that's a question, I guess, for AES, not for you all.
Okay. And how many acres do you have at your,
5.
at your,
Mhm. We are actually, that barn that's in that picture there, that'll come down, I have probably more pictures of that than the one in Yellowstone, but 166 are our neighbors, and so the edge of the property comes, I don't know how many feet it is exactly.
Couple hundred feet.
Couple hundred feet.
okay,
So we don't immediately adjoin the property,
gotcha.
but it's pretty close.
Okay.
So that's a question I have. Is there a recourse? I have conflicting information in terms of property value.
Mhm.
It is a concern.
Yeah,
Um,
I understand that. that's the reason I was asking if that was a Madison County specific one you're providing, to see if there was conflict. And,
It's
again,
Clay County.
Yeah. Understand.
And actually, there's information from all over the country. We just got this letter to even know about this recently, so I haven't had a lot of time to put information together. I don't know that there is Madison County specific, because this is the first facility in Madison County, so I don't know. But the recourse, or the concern exists. I don't really know what to do other than ask the question.
No, absolutely.
Another question I have is with regard to heat. Yes, it has been an issue in different facilities around the country. The heat that's generated by the panels. Now, I did hear that they will put a coating over them. Obviously, they don't want to reflect the light, but it would be interesting to know what kind of a heat impact there is. I know that there's an impact with birds dying, insects dying because of the heat that's generated from the panels. What kind of heat is that gonna put off for us? We're trying to save energy, but if it increases the heat too much around the area, our air conditioning bills are gonna go up. So just another question. The road, they answered, that's good to know. As far as the decommission plan, and this isn't really from me, I guess more for the state possibly, but when the panels go, when panels are replaced, where do they go? What's the plan? As a concerned human, where do they go? Are they gonna be dumped here locally?
Recycling's a good possibility from what I understand.
Okay, good. Good. Okay. One more.
And that will be in the decommissioning plan.
Yes.
It will have a breakdown of how they do that to bring it back to its natural state, okay? That's one thing they have to provide.
Yes,
They have to provide, when they break it down, what they do, get rid of everything, clear it out, and bring the farm back to the natural state.
Right, and
So-
I was thinking more of the panels, and the recycling is basically, I guess, the answer to that. We don't need to
I just know
landfill.
that's a possibility.
Possibility,
Yeah, there are
okay.
companies that do that.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
sure they could address that question as
Right,
far as what
I know, I'm
Well,
asking
we
you
have
guys
some
these
No.
questions, and they aren't really for you.
And that's good,
but-
we'll have them come up, and we're all taking notes, and
Okay.
they are too.
Okay.
We'll have them answer these questions.
Okay. Other than, like I said, the biggest thing for us right now is the impact to property values. Of course, again, it's sad when you select a location, real estate, location, and then all of a sudden, what you selected it for is gone.
Absolutely.
That's a comment, that's not a question, it's an opinion, a
No.
statement.
I totally
concern.
agree, and, I grew up in the country like you're talking about,
Mhm.
and, I guess, you ever grew up around a pig farm?
I'm a city girl.
Okay,
This is
there's a big
chosen
yeah,
for me
that's-
because of the serenity.
There's a big difference in growing up and then building a house out there, and you're thinking this is a good farm, and they come in and they raise pigs compared to solar panels and different things. So there's different
Right.
atmospheres that everybody can come in about.
True.
I guess that's one thing we have to relate is, a lot of people think solar technology, solar's another farm. It's another crop. So whether they take this farm and they turn it into a pig farm, they turn it into a garden, a nursery or whatever, you know what I'm saying? There's
Mhm.
something different that's always gonna be there, and we have to, how are we gonna adapt, improvise, and overcome throughout whatever they're providing there?
Pigs stink,
They
but
do.
they don't totally block views.
That's right, you're
And
right.
change your environment.
That's right.
No, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And absolutely, that's one thing I've learned as a city girl, is in the country, there aren't the zoning and rules and so forth, so I do get that. But,
Thank you very much.
all right,
All right.
thank
Bad,
you.
the good, both.
Yeah.
Pardon?
You
You
get
get
the
the
bad.
bad and the good, I'm in the same
Absolutely.
situation.
I would like a pigtail something.
Sure, come right on up. Tell us your name.
go out this way.
Okay, thank you.
Tell us your name and address, sir.
Wayne Ains, same address she is.
Yes, sir. You agree to give truthful and accurate information?
Yes, I do.
Thanks, sir.
My concern is this, whether it's pig farm, solar farm, or whatever, what ramifications do we have assuming our properties are devalued? Now, if you look at studies, appraisals throughout the country, you're gonna find about 50-50. Some of them, no devalue, they put up these beautiful trees and that's great. One of the main reasons that we bought our property is, as Mr. Sewell mentioned, we have a view of farmland and mountains. Now, the tree line will be far enough away from us, we can still see the mountains. But there is a huge difference in having lakefront property and lake view property as far as values. And what assurances do we have that what if we're in the 50% where the property is devalued, that we're gonna have some compensation for that?
Yeah, and that's something we'll ask them. One thing you can look at though, here in the state of Kentucky, is there are other solar projects going on. Metcalfe County has one, Fleming County has one, Garrett County has one. So you might be able to go and look in those projects and look at their PVAs and see if there has been a devaluation of location of those properties, because this is not the only one going on in Kentucky. There's multiple solar projects. I don't know if you've been down to Bowling Green or not, but Bowling Green has a GM plant down there, and they put a big, huge solar plant in, and so you can review their property valuations also and see if there's been any devaluations or rise. That'll give you some references that you can look. Those are just some off the top of my head. I know Metcalfe, like I said, has one. Garrett County has one. Fleming County, I think, starting one. And like I said, Bowling Green has probably one of the biggest projects. Shelby County is doing one along the interstate up there. So,
Well, if they're so sure that our properties won't be devalued, why can't we have a neighbor agreement that will guarantee us that it won't?
are you you're not an adjoining property?
No, there is one property between our property, 166 is between us,
Gotcha. Yeah.
and that's all I'm asking.
Okay. All right, I appreciate it, sir. Does anybody else? Yes,
Hey,
ma'am.
Trina Stalker, 179 Pine Grove Road.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case.
I do.
Tell us, Ms. Stalker.
I have two main concerns, and one I know we have talked about, but I want to go on record, and that's the road, because we do have Pine Grove Road that the bus wouldn't even go down for many years, and
Till they
I
got
actually
the
drove my
terminal.
child to the corner of Pine Grove and Brassfield, because that's where the bus would pick him up. So I'm very concerned about the road condition as the equipment comes in and there, because it is a single road, and I have a 16-year-old that's learning to drive. So I really want to go on record making sure that that is a condition that is put in there, that the road survey is done, and that we are monitoring that and keeping up with that. My other question, and I don't honestly know if you can put this in the condition or not, I really feel that AES or Pine Grove Solar, however we want to call it, needs to have a better response time. I've emailed them numerous times, questions, and get no response. I've actually used my personal email as well as my business email. I'm a hospital president, so it shouldn't go into anybody's junk or spam mail when I send from that, and I get no responses. I've sent about 12 emails,
Okay.
and that frustrates me. So I would feel like as a conditional permit that there is some type of
Communication.
Yes, because I am an adjoining property in one area.
Have you
that-
emailed any of these people that have you seen here today?
No, because the only email I've ever had is the general email
Okay.
that.
We'll make
that
sure
comes on
today
file.
before you leave, you can get a direct email address for these. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anybody else? Nobody else has any? Yes, sir.
My name is Jerome Stalker. I'm a resident of Pine Grove Road, 179 to be exact, directly behind Mr. Sewell.
Do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it
Yes,
pertains to
yes,
this?
sir.
Thanks, sir.
I'm just on the record, want to say on the record, I am totally against this operation here because until the spring of this year, we knew nothing about this. Congratulations, you're gonna get an eyesore in your front yard, so to speak. One of my big concerns is on Pine Grove Road, there are young drivers out there. And with this construction crew coming in, zipping all up and down this road, tractor and trailers, I mean, Pine Grove Road is barely big enough to support one vehicle. I mean, you have to get off the road to, for two vehicles to pass. That is a concern of mine. And also like Mr. Sewell, the view out there is beautiful, it's quiet, serenity. Congratulations. This is gonna be in your front yard, so to speak, but,
Were you invited to any of the public,
knew nothing of it.
that they had? Okay. And you're an adjoining property?
179, directly in the back.
Okay.
So how it would affect me would be to the left of my property. So roughly 75 yards from the fence line will be that monstrosity. With 108 employees driving to and from all day for what, 6 months, however long the project is? Up and down Pine Grove.
So you're at 179?
Yes, sir, up at the very back of the tree line.
Gotcha.
Forest right back there.
So, and the property, is that right there?
The open field to the left.
To the right?
Right, yeah, looking at it now to the right, yes.
Gotcha.
And roughly 75 feet from the fence line there is where it'll start, or
Well,
75
actually,
yards,
It'll be
200 feet.
200 feet off there, yes. Now, that's where you'll see the vegetation and trees, like you've already seen there, you'll see more of that.
And also, we will be listening to pile driving operations going on back there for the life of the project. A noise hazard, it just, that's basically all I want to concern is traffic safety.
Gotcha.
And I know construction, I spent 20 years of it in the military. It flies.
Yeah.
And
And
that's-
again, that was one of my biggest things that, like I said, we've dealt with this before on another road, and the maintenance road supervisor will make sure that when they do this survey, I don't know if you ever know anything about a road survey, but he'll go out there with this manager, and they go over the road from beginning to end, and he has, here's what's going on, here's the way the road looks, and he's gonna say, this is what we gotta have, and he's gonna come back and say, all right, then we're gonna have to do this to the road. And the reason I know this is I have family that live on Hackett Pike. So Hackett Pike was a very narrow road. And when they went to put this in, they could only access Hackett Pike from certain ways because of the underpass on Union City Road. So they had to come in the back way sometimes on Hackett Pike. So what they had to do on Hackett Pike was they had to go out there and build the sides of the road up with gravel first along the sides, and then they came back and put blacktop, so they actually made it wider. And I know they worked very, side by side with the road department. So if you have a chance, your road is very similar to what Hackett Pike is and was. If you have a chance to go out there and look at that, it's very, very similar. And I understand, like I said, I had a brother that lives on that road, so I got that aggravation daily about, hey, what's going to happen? He was very pleased with the road after that. So,
Doesn't I say he's well?
huh?
Doesn't I say he's well?
Yeah, because the whole saying is the proof's in the pudding, you know what I'm saying? It's there. Our road department will hold them to a standard that they will uphold.
Now, is that at the end of the project when it's all said
It
and
starts
done?
from beginning to end.
So that will be maintained, potholes, the
Yes.
dirt and grime
Everything
and mud, all
during
through
and
there.
in, yes. And the
And
great
that
thing
on-
about this, guys, if you don't understand how a conditional use permit works is, once it's granted, if it's granted, when it's granted, is if something that's not correct within the conditions of the use permit, all you have to do is, a lot of people don't listen, you can file a formal complaint. All you do is you call the office and you say, hey, there's been a chug hole out here for 3 months. It's not gonna happen because it won't last that long, because as soon as somebody on that road calls, it's gonna be maintained. And like I said, Bert will tell you that when they went through that Hackett Pike project, as soon as somebody was called, they were there, they done it. So our road department is top notch when it comes to this bonding on the roads.
And it's part of the conditional use. If
Yes.
those conditions aren't met, the project will be stopped.
The permit can be.
The permit can be voided.
And
So
also.
I understand though,
Yeah.
at a personal level, that frustration.
just like Wayne over there talked about the depreciation of the value out there of our properties. That's an issue, and just the whole general.
I understand. I really appreciate your time for us.
Thank you for listening.
Does anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Anybody else have anything different? Come right on up. Tell us your name and address once you get to the microphone.
Jenny Stevens, 400 Pine Grove Road, 410.
Is that under
Tim
Timothy
Stevens.
and Virginia?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Virginia Stevens.
Thank you.
Only-
You agree to
only
give
when
truthful?
I'm in trouble with that.
Do you agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Stevens. It's a P.O. Box 282, Stevens.
We're already there.
Timothy, Virginia, right there.
So we'll be driving through that or whatever. So we do have a good neighbor agreement.
Mhm.
And I just feel like that's between me and them. So,
Mhm.
and we had a lot of concerns as far as we share that road. And we've shared it with the Comptons for years and everything and stuff. So that was our big concern, was that I have, all my family lives there. My son, his family, my daughter and her family, my granddaughter has a house and stuff. So we all live down there. I don't mind property value going down because we're not leaving, and that's just that much less taxes I have to pay. So that part is there.
That's
We
one way to
like
look
it
at
there.
it.
We're very secluded. We look at dead ends to Air Place. We were first worried about it might impact people driving down there and looking. We've addressed all that with them, so we're fine with that. So I just want to get on record. I understand what they're saying, and I feel for them. But I also feel like I own my property and I'll do what I want with my property within the law, and I just feel like anybody people should be allowed to do with the property what they want to do. So I have no problem with them.
How many acres do you have, Ms. Stevens?
64.
Okay.
We understand it'll impact the road. I have a 14-year-old grandson, so hopefully the equipment's all long gone by the time he gets his permit. And then, but like I say, we've just been in long discussions with them, and we've had all the same concerns as everybody else. And the person I've been dealing with is not here, it's John Stewart, but he's been very easy to get a hold of.
Okay.
He's talked with us. He answers any question I have, and so I'm sure if you get with the right contact, that person will talk to you and stuff, because everybody has been very good about that. So I'm just kind of on the other side. Progress is progress, and so we're just going to stay in their property and mind their own business, and hopefully, and if I will be the first one to tell you if they're not doing something right, I will complain.
I'll test for that.
Yeah, first had one phone call, and I think we're good. Okay.
Thank you very much, Ms.
You
Stevens.
forgot one thing, plus no cows will be on the road, right?
Meet Tommy Compton on that road, and you'll be really, really glad that's not going to be happening. So yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens.
No, can't be no worse than meeting Tommy.
Okay,
Talking about the concerns of everybody as far as the construction traffic on the road, as far as the
Yeah, let's
thing
bring-
that we had to
bring
the.
AES back up there, let them respond to some of these
Okay.
concerns. Yeah.
we got one more.
Oh, do we have another?
Yeah, come on up.
Thank you. My name is Kathy Congleton. I'm married to Rob Congleton. We don't live on Pine Grove Road. But I just want to say that all of you all that are concerned, I mean, Rob and I have worried and talked about this many, many nights. But for you all that are concerned about your beautiful view, from me being Rob's wife, I have to tell you that if it was not for him, you would not have that beautiful view. I mean, before he purchased that land, it was called Rabbit Run Nursery. And the people that own that nursery let it grow just like the trees that are over to the right. All of that was in growth like that. And trust me, we've raised our children over there. I have raised many, my husband and his father have grown many tobacco crops there. And it's hard. It's really hard to let it go. But I feel like it's my husband's decision, it's my father-in-law's decision, but you all would not probably have put your home there if you did not, what it looked like before they bought it. So it was, and I'm not here to upset anybody, I'm really not, but I just want you all to know that the view that you have is because of the hard work that my husband put over there. So, thank you, and I just needed to say that.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. All right, at this time,
We got one more.
yes.
Maybe two.
Come on up, tell us your name and address, please, sir.
Jim Dawes, 123 Braemar Drive.
You agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this
I do.
case? Thanks, sir.
Excuse me, I've been outside more. I own property that's fairly close to there. It's not on Pine Grove Road. It's off of Bracefield Road. My personal opinion is I've been a farmer all my life. Moved here in 1966. Most of the farmers that I know does not pay into a 401k or whatever. Usually their property is their retirement. And my belief is that when they get ready to sell that farm, that is their retirement. If it's not hurting anybody justly, we need to look into that, maybe let them do it. I live in a subdivision, I back up to a farm, they can do whatever they want to with it. I've got no control of it. In fact, the weeds just growed up about as high as this ceiling now behind my house, but there's nothing I can do about it. But he'll get around to mowing them before the end of the year maybe, but Jack Frost to get them mowed. But anyway, I own property probably a mile from it. The construction, I'm sure the construction's gonna tear up the road. Like I said, the road will be fixed maybe better after it's done. The worst part about it is gonna be during the construction, like this talking about a while ago, the noise, the road tore up, mud and dirt on the road. As y'all know, we just built a big project out on Speedville Road, and they're in the process now of widening the road, putting culverts in, putting new culverts, and they've got concrete and abutments sitting out there to go ahead and finish that project, and I'm sure y'all are well aware of that and the bond there is on that. So anyway, my thought was being that when you're selling property, a lot of times it doesn't have anything to do with you personally, but that's your retirement.
Thanks, sir.
All right.
Rob Congleton, I live at 930 Meadowbrook Road.
You agree to give truthful and accurate information as it pertains to this case?
Yes. Don't want to take, I know it's going longer and on, I don't want to thank you all for what you all do, and Bert, it's a lot of aggravation, I know. And Mr. Dawes for coming and speaking on my behalf. He honestly would rather see steers out in those fields, I promise you that. He's talking against his business. So I do appreciate him. Appreciate my wife saying what she did. I mean, Rabbit Run Nursery, I wish I had pictures to show you what it looked like. I really do. Spent a lot of hours over there. I guess I'm getting my sweat equity back. That's the way I look at it, because I spent a lot of hours, more than I could keep up with. A little disappointed that 6 of these agencies that's going to benefit, y'all know who they are. Reagan always says he don't get much money. School board, try to get them to come talk. They're gonna get $100,000 a year. That's 2 teachers probably, starting salary, whatever. And they should be for this. So the extension, library, ambulance, they're gonna get a lot more. They might not think it's a lot more money, but to me it is. Over 35 years, they're getting more money than I'm getting. So I think they would be pretty happy and should support it if you know any of those people. I don't want to repeat anything. Some of you knew tobacco is 37,000 pounds short of growing 1 million pounds of that stuff. And you know how much hard work that is to do that. And I had good professors at UK who taught me how to maximize yield, and it was all about photosynthesis, plant yield, not capturing sunlight. I mean, they generate plants to capture more sunlight. They architect and breed them. And I knew I had to get the yield. That's what those solar panels are going to do. They're capturing sunlight. doing photosynthesis, but they're gonna create electricity. And it might keep you warm one of these nights, you know, you never know. You say it ain't going there, but it's not fun to take a cold shower, I know that. When the electric's off, it's not a good thing. It's always good when it comes back on. So, I do get a little comfort out of knowing it's gonna keep people warm or cool, especially elderly people, and with the big picture. I am happy to know, and I'm still in Ed McCord's thing, you know, it's not houses and roads going on that. One day it could go back to agriculture. That makes me feel good. I do like that. It's very good soil, some of the best soil in Madison County, so I'm gonna take a little bit with me, I promise you that, before I get it. I've got another farm, and I love that view over there too. It's just the way it worked out. And I can't read that because I'm too nervous, but Romans 8:28, read that tonight. It's 27:28. It tells you about everything you need to know in my book. And I thank y'all for your time and support.
All right, now at this time, if there's nobody else, I'm gonna have the members from AES come back up. You guys care to come up? We've got a few more questions. So, major concern I think that they had for y'all was the traffic and the road. Like I said, with the conditional use, the previous ones, no matter the projects, will put a bond on that. With that road survey, that's what you'll do. You go in a little bit more depth about how that worked.
Absolutely. I brought somebody with me. Definitely want to introduce you to him. 27 years. He's a PE, civil PE. This is what he does. He builds roads. He builds roads for us. He was not supposed to be here tonight. I brought him in last night. We've spent the day, again, on those roads. How many pictures you take today? 50, 60, 70? It's of culverts that are installed. We're not saying they're installed wrong. What we're saying is there's a better way, there's a better standard for them. We can't traverse that road as it stands. We cannot. We have to improve it to get across it now. That's what's gonna happen. That's where the conditional use permit will outline what we need to do. And then your superintendent for your regional roads and DOT, he's gonna make sure he works with us to make sure we do that. Without that, I don't anticipate y'all would issue me a permit. Understand there's more permits to come. There's electrical, there's mechanical. You can give me a conditional use permit, but if I don't follow those rules, I won't be getting an electrical mechanical permit, which means I'm still not building. So following that logical process, if I don't do what I'm supposed to do in the beginning, I still get stopped somewhere along the way without the conditional use permit. You have the opportunity to stop us at the mechanical and electrical permit phase if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do in the beginning. So it's not a one and done. There's other opportunities to check us. There's other opportunities to balance us. There's other opportunities for the public to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. I wanted to make sure that you knew that opportunity's there. We're not just trying to come in tonight, it's over, we're gone, and that's the end of it. It's not that simple for us. There's another process to go through for us, 2 of them to be exact. So I just want to make that. Thank you.
One concern I know they different what I'm talking about is the recourse of value of homes. I made some recommendations, like I said, they'll look into those counties in Kentucky. What's some recommendations you have for that? Or I know you've got the Skyjack project, you've got that other one in New York. I mean, Virginia's more relatable to Kentucky than New York would be. Is there any way you could provide us some property evaluations from the Skyjack after that, or do you have? Is that what you have?
Well, again, hi, Rich Kirkland, Kirkland Appraisals. I don't have Skyjack, but I do have Spotsylvania, which is in Virginia, and it's another AES project.
Right next to the project. Right next, and it's completed.
It has been completed.
How long has that project been completed?
2 years.
Yeah, parts of it have been energized for over 2 years now.
Gotcha. And so you've got a property evals after its completion?
Yeah, and I've got, in this report, let me see if I can, you have a copy of this report, do you not? Is it part of the application?
I do.
It is not.
It is not. You can submit that to Mr. Thomas for
I'll
record.
hand this copy up, but, yeah, we've looked specifically at Spotsylvania, it's a really good one to look at.
You're from Louisville, is that?
I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
I'm also a certified general appraiser here in Kentucky. I've been doing solar farm analysis for this type for 14 years. In that time, I've worked at about 22 states. I've been looked at over 1,000 solar farms at this point. We have sales data looking at homes actually in a solar farm in Crittenden. So here in Kentucky, we do have sales data in Kentucky showing no impact on property value. And we've confirmed that. We talked with the brokers involved. You know, we've compared the homes that have sold next to solar farms, looked at the price per square foot, the price of the homes, and compared them to similar homes nearby that are not next to a solar farm to see if there's any impact we can measure from that. But we also talked to the brokers involved so they can tell us whether or not it impacted the marketing, how they went about it, or if the buyers had any concerns. So far, all those sales there in Crittenden, they're specifically pointing out, no, that was not an issue. And we have pictures in my report that we submit. You can see some of these solar panels from those backyards.
Okay.
So they're distant views, though.
So you actually have some, the Crittenden is in Kentucky.
Yes.
And you have data, is it property valuations after that, or is
Sales,
it?
actual
it is
sales of homes next to that solar farm.
Okay, perfect. And you can provide those?
I have them available for them to
We
submit.
have them, we can submit them to Bert.
Okay,
I
and
can
that
give
way.
you this paper copy tonight, but
I
that's
think
all I have on me.
We definitely, but I think, like the homeowners, I think they need a copy of that. Somehow we can get them, because that way, it's easy to say New York and Virginia, but when you can relate to Kentucky and Crittenden is doing the same project, it makes the homeowner feel a little bit, all right, because it's easy to see the negative, but if you can show proof that there is property increased values, that makes the homeowner feel a little bit.
Sure, and the other, I know I've got Crittenden data in here, and we look at a bunch of other solar farms in Kentucky as well, but you need time, because a lot of it's new here, and you have to fight for sales, and rural properties sell less frequently than, say, in suburban areas.
Yes.
So that's pretty natural, and we've seen that in all the states we've worked in. But Spotsylvania is really helpful because, one, it's a 500 megawatt facility. It's a significantly larger facility, much, much bigger. It's next to a resort community. There's a Fawn Lake is this community next door. They've got a golf course, they've got a big lake. But the golf course and the lake is not really close to the area where the solar farm's going, where the solar farm went. But they've been expanding and selling lots in there. Lots that we've got sales data showing the lots that adjoin the solar farm where it's at, they are selling for actually the same price as those that are not next to the solar farm. They're putting in homes in the $800,000 range in this community, and there's a new development section that's going in their new phase that I want to say, Toll Brothers, but I might be getting the wrong national builder. They're putting in a bunch of homes, but they've already put under contract a whole new phase that's going to have solar farm on 3 sides, and they've already got those lots under contract for about $160,000 each. Okay. So there's a lot of great data showing that development will not be deterred by this, and again, it's not impacting home prices. And maybe also worth noting, just since property value is an issue, you don't have to just take like my word for it or look at the data. You can look at sales, but there's also been a number of university studies that have been done on this issue. University of Texas has done a study. University of Texas out of Austin done a survey of appraisers and assessors across the country, and they've been looking at property values and asking appraisers what they come up with. Interestingly enough, opponents often bring this study up because there's a chart in there that shows impacts up to minus 25% impact was what came from the survey. But one of the questions they asked in the survey is, have you ever appraised anything next to a solar farm? And when they break that down, the answers based on those who have experienced appraising next to a solar farm and those who have not, those who have appraised next to a solar farm, they range from -5 to +10% impact on property value, hovering right at 0%. And that varied based on the size of the project and how close they were getting. I think the closest they had was 100 feet from a 100 megawatt solar farm. That would be the -5. When they looked at the responses that came from appraisers who had no experience, that's where you found the really high impacts. So again, those were just guesses that were coming from people who had no knowledge on that subject. The conclusion of the researchers of that study came back saying they concluded it would have nominal to positive impacts. There's a study out of Rhode Island. It's often cited by opponents of solar farm as well. The abstract on that says they found a negative impact stretching out for some distance around these solar farms. But when you read into it, and I've also interviewed the lead researcher on this, Corey Lang, they only found that in very high population density areas. They did the study in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, the second and third most population dense states in the union. And they looked at the breakdown between rural areas and suburban areas, and they used a breakdown showing where they looked at solar farms where the population density was 500 people or less per square mile. They found no impact on property value. Where it was in a more suburban area, that's where they found the negative impacts. They even did a sensitivity thing where they moved that definition up to 2,000 people per square mile and looked at all the solar farms that would fall into that category. They still found that 70% of their data showed no impact on property value, and that, again, 70% of the total data, only 30% of the solar farms they looked at were in those high population suburban areas. The other 70% of the data would then fall in rural areas that showed no impact on property value. So the population density here is significantly less than 500 and well less than 2,000 per square.
I think that'll help, comfort people if you can show that, especially here in Kentucky.
Sure.
So just a quick question, in your experience, you mentioned how many solar projects you've been involved in appraisals with. Do you do appraisals for other purposes, for example, mortgage lending and that sort of thing as well?
I'm a commercial and land appraiser. We do farms, we do poultry farms, new construction all the time. Yes, we do regular assignments. And again, I was going to mention, there's just one other study to mention out of Georgia Technical Institute. They looked at farmland values around solar farms. They found a very mild positive uptick in property value from those. So I could go into more detail, but I want to make sure that was clear that there's more than just my opinion.
Yeah. We had a concern on communication, and I want to make sure we get that fixed tonight.
Yeah.
Do you all have cards with emails?
Yes, I have them in my backpack.
Okay, was it Miss? I have it down. I
Stalker,
think Miss Stalker. Yes.
Yep.
Can we make sure y'all get her?
100%. Yeah. And
Those-
we apologize for the breakdown of communication. We have 3 different people monitoring that KY Pine Grove Solar at AES.com email. We've communicated with other people through that email and haven't seen anything come.
As long as we get her now direct
Yep.
communication, that'd be great. One question they had, and I know it'll take information, it'll take y'all time to get us some information back, is the heat impact. I guess that'll be under the environmental plan?
I can actually speak to it right now.
Okay.
Hi, Madeline. I'm a permitting support on this project, but I'm also a wetland scientist and environmental biologist. And one of the reasons I do what I do is because I really care about the earth, and I really care about protecting our water and our air. And the study that I believe you were talking about the heat island effect, was actually conducted in Arizona, which is a lot different from Kentucky. I live in Virginia. Was it a different one? What study did you look at out of curiosity? I'd like to look into it.
Pennsylvania?
Okay, I'll look it up. I know there
Pretty
is.
sure, I'd have to verify it.
Okay, no problem.
I think it was Pennsylvania.
And we have Wayne's email address? We can,
Yeah.
if you can share that with
Okay.
us.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'd be curious to see it. I do know of one that they conducted in Arizona as well, which is obviously much different than here. But we also have data from a temperature study that was conducted in, I want to make sure I get it correct, it was conducted in Michigan, and which is pretty similar, temperate climate. And what they found is that the panels actually return to ambient temperature almost immediately after the sun goes down. It's a very quick heat up and then heat down, and it's actually not something that you can feel or be impacted by more than 100 feet away. The setbacks on this project, to remind you, are 200 feet from any property that has a residence, so well outside of that area where you might even be able to feel even a little bit of heat, and that's a quite, you'd have to get much closer than that, much closer than the fences will even allow you to. They are under lock and key. These are, that's a requirement from the federal government that we make sure you would not be impacted by that. The bird issue is one that I have seen. They've done a lot more recent studies on them, and that is partially due to these reflective coatings on the panels. They've gotten much better at that. Previously, when they were installing solar and the panels did not have that reflective coating, birds would think it was water, and they would fly and they would hit the panels. And I mean, we've all been in a building when a bird's hit a window. It happens all the time, just as a unfortunate byproduct of humans living in the nature that we do. But they've gotten much better at that, and we don't anticipate very many of those instances due to the upgraded anti-reflective coating on the panels. I hope that sufficiently helps.
The other thing to address all the traffic concerns and as far as construction crews, I know on the project we're talking about on Hackett Pike, I actually sold the property that electrical pump station was put on, and I had the head guy in charge of the whole project there. We had his cell number and gave it to anybody that wanted to report a driver that was driving too fast, faster, and set limits on how fast they could drive. They fired construction companies that was hauling dirt because their drivers were caught driving too fast. They had employees that got fired because they were driving too fast on the road. So as far as we need, these people that live on that road to be able to have a cell number to the project manager, and when they see something that concerns them, they be able to call and get immediate action from that.
I'll be glad to introduce my PMs to them.
Right. And I know that you guys are probably willing to do that. You want people to be safe. You don't want
Absolutely.
people driving in there that's hazardous to people.
I think the traffic management plan is probably one of the most important things we do. I can't state this as a statistical fact, but every project has fatalities related to workers coming and going away from their projects, especially when you're talking about the numbers, sheer numbers we deal with in the volume. Been pretty lucky, hasn't happened in 3 years. So it says a lot for what we do and how we train. We also will not be driving pickup trucks, cars, the Camry, the Chevrolet, the Toyota. You will not see that coming and going on this project. We have no parking space. They will be meeting off-site. They will come in buses, 15 to 20 person buses. That's how they will come and go. There will be no flying out at lunch. They only get 30 minutes. They have nowhere to go. They will come in the mornings. They will get off the bus in their work areas and get back on the bus at closing time. They go back out the gates. It's a control factor for us, and it's a way to control damage in neighborhoods. If I turn 100, 200 people loose at lunchtime for 30 minutes, it's not good. Let's be clear, it's not good. Causes a lot of trouble that I don't have time to mess with. I keep them there and let them eat the money, sir.
Thank you, sir.
They'll all be in the traffic management.
Thank you.
We touched on this just a little earlier. I think we're gonna have a little more discussion. I'm gonna ask about the possibility of Madison Countyans being employed out here.
Yes, sir. Not sure what the demographics are in the county. I'm sure Miss Helen Humphrey does,
Well, I
but
know
I wouldn't know
some
that.
technical positions you have to. I'm sure.
Absolutely. I wouldn't know that, but she's going to inform me at some point when it's time. She'll make sure I know this. Basically, what we do is we're putting in iron posts, we're attaching steel and aluminum racking, and we're installing panels. Electrical work is the biggest key to this. Some level of iron work, 90% electrical. Anybody running that electrical background, a lot of those guys as solar electricians will come with us. That labor and that mid-labor type of level of construction, we will try to hire as many as come to the gate and have the qualifications, and that's basically they can show up and they can pass your analysis. We'd be glad to talk.
Through Indeed or some way, you gotta be advertising that or?
Absolutely. I don't know if we've committed to any job fairs yet.
I was just going to say, we can certainly commit to job fairs.
We do that everywhere we go.
I know when you're done, there's only gonna be 2 employees there,
Full-time
right?
AES. The plant runs autonomously. That's something to add to the conversation. Talking about longevity
So they
and
just
lifetime.
mostly troubleshooters and.
Changing fuses, literally making sure whoever, be it the sheep or the people, the grass is getting cut.
Can I just add to that people often, oh, I'm so sorry.
I mean, of course, I know this is short-term employment, but still, it's.
Construction short-term employment, working on the project, on operations and maintenance, of course, is much longer-term employment. And the point's been made that there are other projects, solar projects in Kentucky. Our industry is one of the fastest growing in the nation, and in hiring new people. So people are going to have an opportunity. People who come as construction workers will have opportunities to work on other projects in the region, but also, the operations jobs, these are good jobs. These are jobs where you get benefits, you can raise your family, and you have opportunity for advancement and with other companies. Now, we'd rather people stay with AES for their careers, but nonetheless, even though there are fewer, they're great jobs.
Before y'all sit down, Bert, did we have anybody call or email you or anything on this also?
We had one phone call.
Was it one from the,
It was, just someone inquiring about, said they couldn't be here, but their neighbor was gonna be here, didn't leave their name or anything, just was, gave the impression that they had some concerns about it, but they couldn't come to me.
gotcha, and it wasn't a property owner to the
They didn't give it.
adjoining, gotcha. Well, and the reason I was asking is we try to identify, is anybody a property owner to the project that's not came and spoke that's here? What they provided was they provided us adjoining property owners to the project parcels, and we've got their names and mailing addresses, and then there's 19 different ones. And so I want to let you all know, out of the 19, 1, 2, 3, 4 people have came and voiced their concerns for or against. So that just lets you know, you all know, we're glad you came, but out of the 19 property owners, only 4 have voiced totally, and it looks like one had concerns was taken care of, and then the other ones have concerns that we're trying to address. So I just wanted to, let y'all know where we was at on that, because it's not, I didn't want these people to think that, they know how many more people are out there, but you all showed up, done your, due diligence, and provided us with concerns and information.
Can I ask one question? I came
You'll
to
have to
the.
come up
Come on up
You have
here.
to come up here?
Sure. Tell us your name.
My name is Kay Sewell.
Uh-huh.
I live at 197 Pine Grove Road.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm gonna tell the truth. I came to the last meeting in June when they had it, when
The
we
public,
talked to them.
when they had like a public thing at the library?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So David mentioned that the solar panels was only gonna be 3 or 4 feet tall. What happened between that now 15 feet tall?
Okay, what they're talking about is the solar panel pivots during the day, so it follows the sun.
Yes.
So it's not 15 feet up in the air all day. What max tilt is, when it's tilted the highest, that's when it'll be at 15 feet, okay? So they might just be 3 to 6 to 9 feet off the ground, but what you have to do is realize as they move, the top of the solar panel goes up, the bottom goes down, and it goes with the sun and comes back down. That's what they're talking about. That's the reason I asked them what the max height was, and that's at max tilt.
So why would they want more trees if they're trying to get more sun on it?
Well, the purpose a lot of people want for trees
Yeah.
is, and I'm not speaking on their behalf,
Sounds like you're.
I know.
Yeah. I
I
understand, trees are beautiful.
yes,
let them answer.
yeah, we'll let them answer
Yeah,
that.
we'll answer that.
I wanna
Yeah.
speak more.
Do you mind if I?
No.
Yeah.
The main reason that we're planting trees is to assist with view shed. Typically people wanna look out, they don't wanna see solar panels, they wanna see some sort of foliage. So the reason that we plant trees, and particularly evergreen trees that don't lose their foliage throughout the year, is to provide that coverage. And I believe the miscommunication with the 3 feet was 3 feet between the bottom of the panel and the ground. I believe we were talking about what we grow underneath the panels and why that may become an issue if they grow above 3 feet, what we're growing, so, just for reference.
Thank you. So is there anybody else here that's not
Can
spoke?
I speak again?
Yes, sir. Please tell us your name, sir.
Kenny Sewell,
Yes, sir.
197 Pine Grove Road.
Go right ahead, Mr. Sewell.
I just wanna make it known, I'm not against Robbie and Tommy selling their property. They've got the privilege to sell their property, whoever, however, whatever they want to do. That's not it, the issue at all. I've got no issue with that. But I would like to address something his wife said about the nursery. I lived there before the nursery was there. I've lived there when it looked as good or better than what it does now. So I know what it looked like when both ways. So, but it wasn't, but the nursery wasn't blocking my view. It's on the other side of the road, block view, my side of the road, I've still got a view. But with the trees, I'm not gonna have. But I just wanna make that public, I've not got no issue with them selling their property. They've been good neighbors, I've enjoyed them being down there, I have no problem with that at all. And that's a privilege usually as here, us here in the United States. I hope we still do have the freedom to do what we want to with our own property as we see fit. But that's the only issue I've got with it is that.
Thank you, Mr. Sewell. All right, we have gave AES a lot of questions, a lot of do-outs, and a lot of concerns. And does anybody else from the board have anything? If not,
The thing I had from the question, one gentleman had a concern about pile drivers being constant and consistent. Can you clear that up a little bit about the timeline of when the actual pile driving will be occurring and all metal tape?
Absolutely, I can. The conditional use permit, supplemental use permit, I have no doubt somewhere in there you're gonna tell us how many days a week I can work, especially driving piles. This board will set hours. Traditionally for us, if you ask me, I'm gonna go 7 to 5, 37 days a week. You're not gonna let me, I know that. Tell me what you want me to work, what's reasonable. Is it 7 to 5, Monday through Friday? Can I have a half a day Saturday? You're gonna tell me no on Sunday? Well, that's great. I can't get half my crowd in anyway on Sunday. We're good. Give me some standards, we'll work by it. I roughly drive about 800 piles a day with 10 machines. That sounds terrible, it is. But at 800 piles a day, I only have 30,000 to drive. Let me run the math. We're done in about 2 or 3 months. That entire process starts and finishes.
Thank you. Dave, one other thing that I don't think was in your presentation that I think is important to mention is the cul-de-sac. A lady that was concerned about school buses and a place to turn around. And y'all are proposing a cul-de-sac at the end of what's the public part of Pine Grove
That's
Road.
correct. We've talked with the planning department, and that part of the map, that circular turnaround area is a cul-de-sac turnaround area that'll be built to county specs by us. It'll be maintained by the county. That'll allow school buses to turn around, delivery trucks to turn around, anyone who is a looky-loo and wants to check out the solar farm to turn around at that area safely.
It'll be maintained by the county after
After
construction
construction
is
is correct.
complete.
Yeah, it's on the
Okay.
county side of that private drive, Pine Grove
The
Road.
county will bond it, approve it, and then they'll take over the maintenance of it.
That's correct, yes.
Last thing on my list, somebody had a question about how the panels are recycled.
So panel recycling is becoming much more common. There are a bunch of manufacturers that do panel recycling now currently. We recycle panels on a lot of our projects. We haven't made that decision yet on this project, but it's becoming more and more of a, like Mr. Park said, it's becoming more and more of a viable option for panel disposal.
Are there any recyclers in the United States at this point?
Plenty, yes.
Okay.
Dozens. And more to come.
And short of recycling, what's the disposal if you don't recycle? What's that look like?
Certified landfills are the only ones that take it. Most certified landfills now will not take it.
Certified landfill being, it's not
They
hazardous
charge
waste,
us,
right?
it's not hazardous waste, they do
Okay.
charge us to take them. Most of them will not take them because they do take up so much space in landfill, so we have no choice but to go to recyclers. That is just becoming absolute must.
Thank you.
And that'll be included in the decommissioning plan.
That's all I got, right?
alrighty. I have read through your all's, what you provided us, there's a lot there to take in. I would like to, do a little research on the, skipjack solar. I tried to go out and, with different projects, and I used the Hagapike project before, when we done a compression station. I went out and I found out where the last compression station was done. I called their codes people and I talked to their codes people and asked them how the process went and how things that you all have concerns on, how that goes. And so that's one thing I wanna do is, get with that and get some more information, and that's just me. This is not something we can do in a minute or two or an hour or two.
I know it's a trek, but we're happy to provide a tour to you of our facilities in Virginia.
All expenses paid?
I'm
We're
going-
not allowed to do that.
Neither are we.
We are neither. But
I think we can buy you a cup of coffee.
that's all right. No, it's just, like I said, just reach out to whoever's there. Like, I try to find homeowners in that area, is what I'll try to do. And I'll try to find some people that was there, we're just to get the feedback for them.
Do
on that.
we work with Bert to provide that information? Do we provide it to you
No.
directly? How's that work?
We need to dispense with the motions or whatever we're gonna do tonight, and whatever becomes of that,
Well,
then we can talk about the process
yeah.
moving forward.
Okay.
So what I'll do is, if the board members don't have any other questions for you all, there's no other comments, what I do now is I open the floor up for a motion. And,
I think I'm making a motion that we table this to the next meeting.
okay, so we have a motion, now I'll need a second.
Second.
All right, so now I need you to call the roll, please, sir.
Valerie Hines,
Yes.
Mike Mabry,
Yes.
Keith Park,
Yes.
Ralph Alper.
Yes, and
So if you wanna stick around, let us get our meeting dismissed, and then we can, you and I can discuss what.
for all of you, the people in the, what that means, what we've done is we're giving them 30 days or however long to get some information back from us
And not
to
just
us.
them.
Not just for you all, but it's not, the next meeting, there will not be a public hearing for this. It will be for them to provide us the information we requested, and whether or not we will, open the floor for a motion, and whether or not we produce a conditional use permit or not. So, I don't.
Which y'all are welcome to come to.
Yes.
There won't be any public comment or anything, but it will be a public meeting. You're welcome to attend and see what happens at the next meeting. It won't be advertised because it's not a public hearing per se for this item. It'll be brought up under old business if the board chooses to do that. But certainly, you're welcome to call my office anytime, and ask, when the meetings are and provide any information I've got.
Yeah. And the reason we do that is it, you know, this is a big project. We understand your concerns, but this is not something we can give these guys at a drop of a dime with conditions and restrictions. So we have to dig into this, and that, you all didn't see, but they provide us a lot of information and specs and details. So now we have to put this together because, again, the Kentucky Site Commission Board is the next step, and so we had a sort of formality be right there with them on that. So if there is no new business, Mr. Thomas, I need a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
Second.
Call the roll.
Keith Park,
Yes.
Mark Mabry,
Yes.
Valerie Hines,
Yes.
Ralph Alper.
Yes, thank everybody for coming tonight.
Thank you.